Hi, Peter.
Hey, Red.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How about you?
I'm great. Um, can you remind us of today's date, please?
It's August 19th, 2025.
Amazing. It's great to have you back again.
Thanks.
So the painting behind you, it's so big that I couldn't get it in the other angle of the shot, which is highly amusing. It is stunning. It's beautiful. I think it is now one of my top favorites now that I've seen it up close. Please tell us about this painting.
Wow, thank you very much. Yeah, it's the biggest one, actually, and thank you to Rasanga for getting it because it doesn't fit in my car. There's no way I could have brought it here. So, and before I even tell you about the painting, I just want to say happy birthday, Dad. In 3 days, he turns 97. So
Wow.
it's
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, what this painting's about, one of the earlier podcasts, maybe about two conversations ago, I talked about how certain times of the year, like Ramadan, Eid, Christmas, when the spiritual energy is a little bit higher, things happen for me. And it usually shows up when I'm painting. So this particular painting, it was 2014. I was waiting for the Ramadan to start, and I thought the feeling to paint would arrive, but it didn't. And I sat there and sat there for days, actually weeks, because Ramadan's 30 days. Nothing happened. And just before Ramadan ended and Eid was about to happen, suddenly I got the feeling. I thought, wow, that was close. Lesson there for me was expectations. Even having an expectation for me can block this energy. So it's when I said, not going to happen, that's when it happened, because I let my guard down. This painting is a combination of horizontal and on an angle. So the first few layers, I just spray the paint out. I just squeeze it out of containers, different colors, no particular plan, of course, as usual. And then I take, in this case, I believe it was a spatula that you might use or a device for lifting pizza out of a slice out and putting it on. That's what I use to spread the paint out and mix it. I use a lot of kitchen implements when I paint. So I have one that's got holes in it, and it's really cool the way the paint kind of goes out of it and blends a little bit. And when I come back the other way, it gives a really nice effect.
Right. So I can see that in the sky. Like the
Yes.
sky is that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So as I was painting it, I hadn't put the tree on, the big tree there, and there was no bush in the left-hand corner when you're facing it. But everything else was pretty well there when my friend Nancy, who I've referred to before, gave me a WhatsApp message from Greece. She was at her family cottage overlooking the Aegean Sea. And she said, what are you up to? And I told her I'm painting. She said, oh, wow, send it to me. I want to see what you're up to. I said, well, not done yet. That's okay, she said. And so I sent her a picture of what I had done up to that point, which I just described to you. And she writes back, oh my God. And I said, what? And she goes, BRB. So a few seconds later, a photo shows up on my phone. It's the same as what I'm painting.
Oh, okay.
So even where the sunset is above the
Mhm.
bushes
Yeah.
is where this photo shows a sun above bushes, exactly like this. The color of the sky is the same, and even the foreground is very dark. And she said, this is incredible. She said, it's exactly, even the bushes are exactly like
And
what you've painted
where is Nancy at this point?
in Greece,
Oh, right.
Athens. And so it was an incredible experience for me. And so clearly she had been thinking about me. I mean, that's one of the reasons why she contacted me. What are you up to? And because she had been thinking about me and because we have such a strong friendship, that I was able to somehow feel the energy of what she was actually experiencing. And that's what I started to paint.
Right. So was she at home or was she at a place where she was looking out?
She was at her family cottage. So she's looking
Oh.
over the sea. And even for this particular painting, I couldn't decide if the background was desert or if it was ocean. And I just spread the paint out. And if you look and when you do close-ups, you'll see it. The letters SEA are written on the
Yeah,
canvas.
I see. Yeah.
So then I learned, of course, that it's a sea, confirmed originally by Nancy, who sent me the picture of exactly what I had painted. And she was so excited about this, and me too, actually. We spent a lot of time talking about it, that she took a video of the scene. Now, when I was actually imagining what the painting was going to look like, I had envisioned a pillar or a post like you're sitting on a porch. And I decided not to, and I put the bush in instead.
Oh, this is the story you told in one of the interviews at the beginning, and you said that you had done a painting about it, and this is the one.
This is the one.
So is this an olive tree? Because there's a little round, like, fruits with dots in the middle, and they look like, well, to me, when I look at it, it looks like stuffed olives, you know, when you stuff them with peppers.
Pimentos or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is it.
That's a very good question, actually, and this goes to the next part of the story. So I called it at the time, what did I call it? I looked it up twice and I keep forgetting. So I think it's like Sunset in Paradise is what I called it, because it was such a magical experience. It was during Eid that this happened, and of course it was a sunset, and that's what I called it until I finished the painting and posted it. So I added the tree. By the way, when Nancy came and showed me, maybe I don't have to explain this again, but when she showed me the video of the site, as she's scanning, that's where I see the post that I was going to paint.
Oh.
And changed my mind. I didn't do it. So I was clearly getting a visual from Nancy, and that was really amazing for me.
Yeah, even you know, when it's autumn and the sky across the sea is setting, you get the clouds that look like little dark puffs of, they look like smoke, you know, like dark smoke. I can even see that on the horizon. It's beautiful. I really enjoy it. Especially when I lit it up now. The texture and the metallics in that painting look so pretty.
Yeah, thank you. So what was really interesting, so I did the tree. At the very last minute, I put those berries on the tree. They kind of do look like olives, but that wasn't the idea necessarily. They're just berries. And the very last thing I did was I used glow-in-the-dark paint on them, just the berries. So when I would turn the light out after being exposed to high-intensity light, they would glow. But it was the only thing on the painting that had that particular kind of paint on it. So why I did that, I don't know. It was just a spontaneous thing that I did. So there the painting is done. I'm sitting there, and Nancy's friend, Despina, who's from Greece, architect, I think landscape architect, but maybe just a regular architect, we started to chat. And she said, I'm going to be giving a presentation in my local village where I grew up about the history, the ancient history, because there's some features there, being Greece, not surprising, that she was going to talk about. And she was really nervous about this presentation that she was going to give, because she said, what if they don't like it? And I said, well, as long as they don't throw vegetables at you. And she laughed, and I said, but mind you, if they do, just gather them all up, make a nice pot of stew, and share it with them, make friends with them. Mind you, if they throw mushrooms, I hope they're not magic mushrooms, because then that'll cause some other issues. So we were laughing. It was kind of one of these goofy conversations. And I couldn't remember the name of the species of mushroom I was thinking about. And so I was looking on Google. What's that magic mushroom called again? And it's psilocybin cubensis. So as I looked up psilocybin, there's another thing on the web, the search that comes up, and it's talking about the spiritual qualities of psilocybin. And I went, what? I didn't realize that. So I started to look into it, and there are these ideas in various religions about so many levels of heaven. And the highest level of heaven, the 7th level, has certain qualities to it. One of them, according to this website, is psilocybin cubensis. Magic mushrooms are only found in the 7th level of heaven. Another feature of this level is a particular kind of tree they call the Tree of Bliss, which is the new name for the painting. And the Tree of Bliss, how you can tell? It's the only tree whose berries glow in the dark.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It
so
was just
cool.
wild. It was really something.
Because sometimes I think, just when I think it's coincidence, because everyone has experienced thinking about someone and then they call them, right?
Yeah.
But people are thinking about you and you're in the middle of doing a painting of where they're sitting, maybe. And then I'm like, okay, that could be coincidence. But that, like, that is another level, so to
Yeah.
speak. But that's amazing. So the tree has glow in the dark berries.
Yeah. And it's got that specific significance to it. But, when you're thinking about each other and they call you, that's just the same thing. But this is just on a slightly more stronger
And
way.
yeah, creative and like
To do with
earthly way.
openness,
Yeah,
not no expectations. You just, because we're transmitters and receivers. I mean,
exactly.
that's part of what I understand through, especially since I've arrived in Oman, since Oman 2008, that we're quantum beings. That's what we are. So we can communicate and function on that level. So time, space means nothing. We can communicate directly with each other and receive, because we're also receivers and transmitters. And we're also amplifiers. And when you start to transmit and receive, it doesn't have to be living beings in the way we define it in the material sense. Somebody's died, you can still communicate with them. And I have lots of examples of that. And I
Yeah.
think you've heard some already. But
Yeah, and it's not like they're a ghost floating around. It's like they're literally just maybe in another dimension. I'm going to say maybe because I can't prove it yet, but I'm very interested in the topic, like
yeah,
wildly interested.
yeah, for me, I have no doubt. I think I told you the story about my friend Vlad when I went back to Canada. And that was an incredible example of somebody using me to channel their love for their wife, his wife. He had passed away a few days earlier. I was going to Canada, and he seemed to understand this connection, feel it, knows it. And then the painting that I created there very spontaneously matched the stained glass that was in the background behind his casket. And this to me was another example of just where consciousness is much more than what we think
Yeah.
we have as beings. As a matter of fact, most of our consciousness is outside of our body. We're only able to utilize some of it.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I think our five senses are what we need in order to navigate ourselves around, just get from A to B and survive and even prosper. So they make it difficult for the very subtle, because these are very subtle energies, but very, very powerful, very persistent. But it's easy to put the radio out of tune. It's easy to have there to be interference. This is why people who meditate, who pray, if they can get into that state, they're able to connect.
I do feel as well, even when like in my lifetime, when I look at humans, how they evolve through age and experience, I do feel like at a certain age, people get more spiritual, as in, it's almost like we're remembering slowly through our physical lifetime in this third dimension. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like it's because some people, for example, they want to live forever, right? But I'm pretty sure you're not meant to live forever in that one body, because consciousness needs to experience lots of different types of lifetimes, right? Like if I think about it, it's not facts, by the way, it's just my little puzzle that I'm putting together. I feel like if God is everything, or God is trying to find itself, or him or herself, however anybody wants to have it, you would need to experience unlimited possibilities of living through all kinds of lives. And it's just, we are it. And we're finding ourselves as that entity, so to speak.
it's, yes. I mean, to me, we're individuated expressions of God.
Yeah. Like
And
fractals,
yeah,
you know.
fractals is another way of describing it, yes, because we're like a microcosm of something much larger.
Yeah.
But we're also individual and unique. And this is where the idea of free will comes in. So God isn't expressing and experiencing life and controlling. He wants to learn and experience life through us.
Yeah.
And so we need the freedom to do that. And this is partly what happens when although I have these ideas too, that there's a certain amount of scripting involved. that it's predetermined. And I have more and more sense that this is also a very important part of our life right now.
I also feel that, and not like it's written in a book anywhere, but it's through our DNA, our lineage, and our environment, and the era that we're in.
If I'm just putting my mind in neutral, but my heart's open, I very clearly see that I'm being guided. I notice that I will turn left for no particular reason, and I'll end up understanding why I turn left randomly, because there was something I was supposed to see and experience. And so I'm aware that if I allow myself to be guided, I will be guided a lot. And when I resist the guidance, this is when I start to run into problems.
Yeah.
It could be, with individuals, it could be health issues, it could be
Paperwork.
job issues.
Forms to fill in.
Yeah, too many. Yeah, look, I'm going to do a rewrite on the script here, just submitting it for your approval. Never happens. So, but getting back to the question you asked me about a few minutes ago, in terms of consciousness. Actually, now I forgot the question.
Me too.
Okay.
But the reason why you've opened your heart, like to me, I see it as how you have grown and become conscious of being able to do that, and the paths that you've taken that you can. Like a person like me currently, in my experience, I don't dare do that because in my mind, I've already done that once and it didn't work out for me. And then there's lots of things like maybe you weren't open enough, blah, blah, blah. And that's my thing to work on, right? So speaking to someone like you, I love that. And the way you are and the way that you have built yourself, which is beautiful, like your paintings, everything, the way you live, you have such a strong heart compass and it works for you. And that's why I enjoy interacting with you, because I'm like, here's my proof that opening your heart and just shushing your head for a moment will lead the way. But I haven't worked that out yet.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Really, that's so nice. And I'm actually, when I look back, even when I look around me now, I just pinch myself. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed, really, to be in this state where I'm able to actually do that. And I was pretty much from the beginning. We had a lot of freedom when I was younger, so there was not much fear either. We lived on primarily Air Force bases, so you felt secure, although I never felt insecure anyway. And we used to go out every day and explore and just run around, and we'd be gone for the day. And it was joyful. It was fun because we were spending time in nature. And can you imagine filling yourself with that kind of energy every day? And it's very open, joyful. And so that eventually becomes your wiring. It eventually becomes who you are. And I think about children that are growing up nowadays, how difficult that is. And if somebody has experienced traumas or things like that, when they were trying to be open and they got shut down badly and persistently, I just couldn't imagine. Perhaps in a previous life, this was like what it was like for me. But this life, no, I'm very, very fortunate. And that's why I'm really glad we do these podcasts, because I get a chance to share as well. And this to me is really important.
I do find, though, with the experiences that you've told me, like your brother's children passing away, and there was a concern about your son last year, how these things haven't turned you bitter. Like there's been times where things have been really piled on top of you and it's pissed you off, but you never let it move you as Peter out the way. Like you just carry on being you with such grounding, and I love that about you. Whereas I get very concerned that I'm being swayed or tricked, or you know what I mean? I'm very suspicious. So
I wish I was more suspicious.
Oh, really?
Because I get taken advantage of. But when
Interesting.
that happens,
Do you know
it doesn't
in
bother
what-
me that much.
Yeah, and what area is that?
Financial,
Right.
for
yeah.
example, especially financial. If I hadn't been so, let's say, gullible, I'd be a multimillionaire now. But I'm not even close. And in one way, the lesson I take from that is I'm not materially oriented as well. So people can take it and it really doesn't mean that much to me ultimately. It's upsetting a little bit, but it really doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
And this surprises me because it tells me in some ways I'm not working to make money.
exactly.
It has to be meaningful for me. And up to now, it's been meaningful. This is what I
Mm.
seek in terms of job satisfaction. The job I have right now is the lowest paying job I've had in 25 years.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, I made more money in Canada than my salary is currently now. But the opportunities to help shape policy, to guide, to explore things, I enjoy, and the work environment is really, really nice. The people I work with day to day are fantastic. Really, it's a really great environment. And then, you know, I also at the same time, and I experience these miracles, magical things so often, almost daily. No, I would say daily and multiple times a day. And this are the things that really make me feel happy and give my life meaning. So when things go bad, if somebody's been not treating me very well, it doesn't really affect me that much because something magical will happen from it. Or I look to see what the lesson is because there is a lesson. Sometimes I don't learn, but I understand what the signal means. And I go, okay, that's interesting. And I move on. And I try not to let it wrench at me too much. And playing sports probably helped a lot in this regard when I was younger as well, because lots of times you try hard and you end up losing, and that can be a real downer for many people, and that could make you bitter if you're young enough and it persistently happens. But I guess I was really fortunate being the youngest son. My sister was younger, and we were kind of buffered a lot from my parents learning how to be parents. I was just kind of that person that could slip out and do my own thing and
That sounds
freedom.
like you're a middle child. Are you the middle child?
Lower middle, I could
Oh, okay,
say. There
the
was
lower
five of
middle.
us,
Wow. Okay,
and
sorry.
I was the youngest
Forgot
boy,
that part.
fourth, and then my sister was younger than me by 3 years. So yeah, it's it's been a really fun adventure, and another one's about to start as well. So by this time next year, for example, things I believe will be very different. I can feel it. I can feel it building, and even see things on TV now, on YouTube, other even Instagram, and it all makes sense to me. All makes sense. But
What kind of
not
things?
everybody thinks. Just consciousness.
Okay.
So you had mentioned fear and trauma
Mm.
before. So I think that was a really nice example of what happens when somebody's consciousness is starting to open up. But if when it opens in all directions. So it's not like you're ascending necessarily. It's not like you're going upwards and everything's bliss. No, it can go in all directions. And if you have a trauma, your orientation may go the other way simply because of fear, because of you don't have that healing done yet in order to enable yourself to orient who you are, what you are, and then find your direction and then put yourself in that vibe to be able to stay and move towards ascension. So I think a lot of people open up and they go, "Oh my God," and just right back in again.
Mm.
So that's to me the biggest challenge that many people have.
It is very interesting. Like, I'm a fan of Carl Jung, and there's a topic that he touches on about when somebody has had a spiritual awakening, or they feel like they've ascended, and it's like they've gone through that kind of difficult transition, and then they're in this new state. They actually can plateau,
Mm,
and everything can be seem boring and like not mean anything anymore.
mm,
And he was saying about this subject, like you were saying, it expands in all different directions, that you have to then make changes in order to fit into that new kind of concept that your brain is open to. You can't do the things that you used to before. And it may be your friends,
mm,
or your job, or how you get up in the morning, for example, or what you eat, which is a subject we've touched on before, like how diets change as you get older. I've noticed it in my parents as well, and in my partner. He eats so different than what he did, or people give up smoking and drinking all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And there's a chicken and egg element to this as well.
Right.
So I mean, the real process of awakening, I guess you can say, when it started to accelerate is when, just before I moved from Canada, maybe a year before I moved from Canada to Oman. So things started to happen. So it's not like I awakened, and then once I was awake, I said, I think I need to go, my next purpose is to go to Oman. It wasn't like that at all. It was both things happening at the same time.
So you moved first, and then
Well,
you were
I
like,
was
oh,
being pulled.
got
I
you.
was being summoned almost. And I was receiving many signs and signals, and I started to feel it as well. So something was going on that was causing me to wonder, what is going on? And why does it not go away? And became curious about it. So this whole process started to happen. And I eventually followed the persistent messages and feeling to move. And the opportunity, which I wasn't specifically looking for, it was somebody else that was doing it on my behalf. The opportunity came up. Did I manifest that? Was it manifested on my behalf? I'm not sure. But the circumstances were created in such a way that it was almost a no-brainer to then shift over. But did I awaken first and then shift? Or did I shift and then the awakening happened? I think it was both at the same time. It was a lot of ebb and flow back and forth. And this, it was really, when I think back about it, really, really fun. It was really an amazing time. It was like being in a different state of awareness when you're there, because you recognize people around you, but something's different about where you're working, who your family is, what they're up to. Something's different. And it's hard to put into words, but you feel something tapping into you and pulling at you. And at first, it's like when you awaken, you don't know where you are, which direction to go, but the pull then becomes very specific. And that for me was the pull over to this part of the world. But it was something that at first I just laughed off, but it kept.
Right.
And then finally I turned my head in that direction.
And everything flowed.
And then once I had stepped out of my old world into a world I didn't recognize at all, then things really started to accelerate. The experiences I had were really amazing. And I feel like there's another one happening.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just like with this, I'm going to Korea, South Korea, Jeju Island in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And this, I just couldn't imagine being invited to this festival of sustainability and art and culture in a part of the world I've never been to before. And I'm going to be a featured speaker and artist. And the artwork that's there is just, that I've seen, is fabulous from all over the world.
I adore Korean art, actually.
But it's art
from all over the world.
Anyway,
back to your silly Simon is what we call it. Silly Simon.
Oh, psilocybin cubensis, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We call it silly Simon mushroom. Have you ever done magic mushrooms?
Yes.
And was it the same type, or like, what was your experience?
It was a different psilocybin. It wasn't cubensis. That was when I had spent 4 or 6 months up in the Arctic building Dempster Highway, which runs up to Inuvik in the Northwest Territories. So you're very close to the Arctic Ocean. So I worked there for about 4 months with a friend. And then after we went back to Alberta, we decided to go on a holiday. So the first place we went is to go visit somebody we met up north. His name was Doc Saunders. I still remember this. And this is after 4 months straight being in a trailer in the middle of nowhere. And we met him at this bar called the Zoo. And the Zoo was well named because at certain times it's just like run for your life. It just gets extremely chaotic, shall I say. And no, we met him at the Raven's Nest, another bar. That was well named as well. So we were sitting there, and I had my boss sitting at the table, our boss, and beside him was his boss. So senior people sitting at the table. And beside us was this guy, Doc Saunders. He had this like a hat on, like fedora kind of hat on, long hair that went down to the middle of his back, straight, and a beard. So we started chatting with them because we didn't really want to talk to our bosses, to be honest. They weren't that interesting. And we had made pipes with for weed, just to smoke, because it was something to do. And what we were using is the markers that they use to mark on metal, which is soapstone. So they use that as markers. So very easy to carve. So we made pipes for ourselves, and we took some of the screen out of the windows as kind of the thing to hold it. So we were chatting away, and he gave us as a gift a bag of weed. And our bosses are sitting at the table. We had completely forgotten about them. And we said, oh, we got to try this. And so we light up in the bar without even thinking about it. And we finish enough that we're feeling it. I turned and looked, and the two bosses just like, they're speechless. They're astounded that somebody would do this. And we didn't even think twice about it. We go, oh. So later on, this is a bit of a long story, but these are times in Inuvik. So much fun. 1979.
Okay.
So a couple of weeks later, so we're still working for this, it's actually a government agency, Public Works Canada. So we're doing work in the town, and we're living out their accommodations. And there's a dance going to be happening, a live band. And I said to John, we got to go to this. Yeah, come on, it'll be fun. So we said, I'm tired of smoking this stuff. Let's find another way. So we found some tea in the cupboard. So we brewed the tea up, and we put some of the grass in there, and we drank it. We never looked to see what type of tea it was. And we go to the dance, and we're standing there at the arena, because that's where it's being held, and waiting for the doors to open. And I found myself gripping for all life onto the railing up the stairs. I was crawling on it. I was leaning on it heavily. And I looked up at John, and he was doing the same thing. I thought, what the hell happened? And we work our way into the bar. And it's a really fun, because you have 8-year-olds up to grandmothers and grandfathers all together. First song started, and John and I think to ourselves, maybe we can dance this off. So we get up and we try, and it's just impossible. So we finally work our way back to the place we were staying, and we look. The tea that we had brewed to go with our special ingredient was Sleepy Time herbal tea. And wow. So anyway, there's so many fun stories happened there. When we went to go to California, which is what our goal was, we said, let's go visit Doc Saunders. He lives on this island off Vancouver Island called Denman Island. And it was a counterculture place. So lots of hippies there, but there was lots of British retired gentry there as well. And somehow they had to get along with each other. And it was very interesting, because we went to a dance, something about dances. And there was like oil and water. They were both there, but they didn't interact at all. They didn't speak to each other. They didn't look at each other, yet they were part of the same community. It was really, really interesting to experience that. And the next day, Doc goes, let me take you to a spot. And he took us to a spot. He said, here you'll find magic mushrooms. It's a whole field of it. It's not my favorite kind. So here you go for you guys. So we picked for an entire day. And when we were in California, did we have some experiences? Really. And on the way back, I remember John said, we better get rid of the rest of these mushrooms before we cross back into Canada. He's driving. He puts all of them in his mouth and eats all of them. And I'm going, oh my God. And so not more than like 20 minutes later, he's going, oh my, look at all the colors. Look at all the shapes. And we're driving, and he's the worst driver anyway. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. So we get to the border. I've negotiated to get these big, beautiful Bose speakers. And normally they're like, at the time, I think like $750 US for a pair. I managed to get them for $150 a pair, brand new, from the store manager, just because of the way I interacted with him. So I was really happy about it. But they filled up almost the whole back of his station wagon. When we get to the border, the border guard. It's like 3 a.m. He goes, "So, anything to declare?" I said, "Well, I got a couple of T-shirts here. Got here's a watch and some trinkets." And John's showing the same thing, and the guy goes, "Okay." And then John goes, "Yeah, and there's the speakers back there." Oh, come on, John. And then he mentions it 3 times. And then the border guard goes, "Yeah, you better come inside. You got some duty to pay." He didn't want to have anything to do with the speakers. I had to pay like $1.35 on the trinkets for duty, but he completely ignored the speakers. So I was very happy. So it was a nice end of a trip. There was actually more to this trip. It's like one of the many adventures that I took. But yeah, little did I know how much that would influence this painting.
Also, it's originally named Paradise, right?
Sunset in Paradise.
So, like when I first saw it, when anybody says paradise to me, I always think of Adam and Eve. And there's been a discussion about the forbidden fruit being
Apple.
not an apple, but actually psychedelics.
Really?
Because it made their consciousness expand so much. That's when they realized they were naked. It's just an idea, like a theory.
Could
But
be.
I really enjoy it because they partook in the forbidden fruit, and the snake was like, God doesn't want you to take this because you'll be able to see what he sees, or like whatever. I don't remember the exact words. But it's so interesting. Like
I
as you
like
were telling
that.
the story, I'm like, oh, Adam and Eve, maybe they did eat the forbidden fruit that was a psychedelic or some kind of mushroom that made their consciousness expand, where they're like, we're naked, and they were in a way kicked out of paradise because suddenly you realize
It's not like what they
you're
thought.
yeah, exactly, like you're a being or whatever. So yeah, I also enjoy that theory.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
In a way, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, I just thought that was fun.
Yeah.
So I heard that you have been applying for the golden visa for UAE. Did you send the application?
Yeah, I submitted the documents maybe, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago.
Amazing.
And I kind of forgot about it, to be honest,
Oh,
because I have
same.
too many things going on. And I'll leave it up to God to decide whether or not it's accepted. And if it's not, I'll be disappointed. I feel I've done enough to meet their minimum requirements, but there's always unknowns that you can't control. So what to do?
And how long have you been here now in Dubai?
Over 10 years.
Wow.
Longest job of my life. I'd never worked for anywhere else for as long as this job.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So where will I be in the future? I don't know. This is part of the changes that I feel that are starting to happen. So had some very amazing conversations with Suma in the past few days. Been really, really amazing. And this is part of what I see going on in 2025, that there's an awakening, if I can use that term. It's a bit of a cliche that's happening. People are searching and seeking for things in different ways than what they've been raised to do. And I notice this quite a bit, actually. And so the conversations with Suma, who to me is really an incredibly powerful person, consciousness-wise, she hasn't really expressed it, but now I feel she's starting to. And it's really interesting. And I see this with other people as well.
With your, I'm going to say clairvoyant because it's the only word I can use right now. With this kind of the feelings that you have and the pull, were these you noticing it cultivated through you, first of all, being interested and separating it from yourself in terms of like, this is something I need to explore and maybe do a class on? Like, how did you get to that point of, here's me living day-to-day life. It's not that I've got a weird stomach ache or a tingling, like because I've got bad circulation. Like, what was it that made you think that I might do a course or join a religion, or like, what was your journey on that? Or did you
Wow.
always know that these feelings were
Something
from
different.
beyond? Yeah.
Well, I think I mentioned this before, I'm not sure, but I remember being, when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, being able to stimulate here. And I can do that like I'm doing it right now. I could just think about it, and there it is. And it's used to be just a little dot, and now it can go up to my crown. I knew I could do this. I didn't know what it meant. And I thought, oh, that's very interesting. I also remember having these thoughts when I was around that same age, maybe slightly older, of being a bit disconnected from my body in terms of I feel like I'm inside a vehicle. That's how it felt to me. Like, so my main sensory organs, are here, but I'm inside somewhere there and just using it as a vehicle to move around. I remember having that feeling really clearly when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I remember having this notion that there's something special about me. I know it sounds conceited, but I remember thinking there's something different. I feel it different. And I didn't express it, but I could feel it. And I just kept it under my hat, so to speak, and wondered. And this is what really helped a lot too, curiosity. And if a person is curious, then they don't have a particular point of view necessarily that they need to see or defend. They're just open to whatever the answer could be. And so I had this natural kind of curiosity in that regard. And having that kind of mindset, if you wish, enabled these kind of energies and events coming from left field for me to notice them and experience them. So it started very, very young. It was just part of who I was, but it was really not as clear as it is now, of course. And this is what experience, like you were mentioning before, means does. Because when you're in your early years, you're trying to prosper, you're trying to fit in, you're very conscious of your fitness and your health and the world. You're just trying to use all your 5 main senses to get around and maximize them. There's pressure from school, lots of things like this. It's busy times. So once you've kind of reached a point where you're quote unquote tired of all that, and if you have let's say a proclivity to these kind of subtle energies and you can notice them, they will start again to reappear. And this is where it's just beautiful. It's really, really nice.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about your experience or journey with the painting?
In general?
The one behind
The
you.
one behind me. One thing that I remember about this painting, it's one of the ones that was in my exhibition at Beit Musna Gallery. So I had been painting for less than a year, and they invited me to have a solo exhibition. So this is one of the paintings that was there. And one person came up, Omani, older man, very, I don't want to say opinionated, but he had particular perspectives that he expressed strongly. And he was looking at the painting and he goes, "Why didn't you paint a camel there?" He said, "You should have put a camel there under the tree." And I didn't answer the question, but I should have, because what I was thinking was, if you see a scene where there should be a camel, that's great. The next person may see a scene where it's completely different. So this is where I understood it's important for people to see what they need to see, not for me to point it out, but to provide the means by which they can then take the next 2 or 3 steps on their own to whatever it means for them. So I was glad there was nothing like a camel or anything like that in there. And this really introduced me to the notion a lot of portals, about gateways for consciousness, of expression. So you leave it open enough that people, if they're drawn to it, can be open, and then whatever they need will fill in the gaps or show up. So it really is the canvas for them. So I remember that, and that was one of the takeaways for me from this painting.
Thank you very much. What painting do you have next in line? Or do you know yet?
I'm not sure yet. I've done all the paintings so far about Oman, or from Oman.
And what year was this one? Where are we at now?
2014.
Oh, cool.
So the end of July in 2014. So 11 years ago. And
I'd been in Dubai for like 5 months by then.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be 12 years for me in January.
Gee. You know, it was 2015 when I moved to Dubai.
Wow.
So I expect the next one. And I do have even one, I think it's even bigger than this one now that I think about it, but I won't bring it. But I'll bring one that was started in Oman and finished in Dubai. I think that would be one. I have several of those.
Wow.
And so this is, the next part of my life's journey when I moved to this part to Dubai. Once I'd been kind of introduced to the mystical energies that exist in this part of the world, now it was a chance to refine them.
Wow. I'm so excited about it. Thank you, Peter. Have a lovely afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Red.
Bye.
Bye.